Police, get out, the building's on fire. Police, get out, the building's on fire. I was like, no, we going to the Philippines. The apartment can burn, nothing I can do about it. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. I know your time is valuable and I thank you for stopping by. To start off, I wasn't going to make this video about the apartment fire that happened in our apartment complex. Actually, it was this building here that we actually live under, this main building structure that caught fire. But about 2 days ago, my wife and I, well, it was 2 days ago, my wife and I, we were eating at a restaurant, and the waitress happens to be a Filipino. And we started talking to her because she knew we was going to the Philippines, and she asked us how everything was, and we told her it was great. We loved it. She started telling us how she wanted to go. She normally goes every year. She misses her family, and she just didn't go this year or even 2 years ago when all of this first started because all the restrictions and the paperwork she was going to have to fill out. But not only that, my wife and I yesterday was in Best Buy looking at laptops because we need another computer. And as I'm talking to the salesman, we just somehow got on a conversation about traveling. And I told him that we had actually went to the Philippines and got back in March. And he was like, well, how was it? He has a friend that went. He always wanted to go to the Philippines himself, but he heard that there was just a lot of paperwork you had to fill out, and it was a lot of trouble going to the Philippines. So that's why I decided to make this video, because those two conversations I had within the last couple of days. Plus, as I speak to a lot of my wife friends and across the internet, I know with the news media and everything going on out there, it stirs up a lot of fear in people when it's time for them to make their decision about traveling or going just, hey, another state, or traveling to visit another country. Now, when we went to the Philippines, the paperwork itself was a little extra work, but it wasn't that much extra work. Meaning there's a lot more things that we had to do, or we have to do here in America, that give us a lot more headache than filling out that paperwork to go to the Philippines. Example, going to the revenue office here in Arkansas and getting your car tags, that's a lot more headaches. Filling out our yearly taxes for our business, that brings a lot more headache and pain in all kind of areas. So there's a lot more things out there that will create pain. But for us, that desire to go to the Philippines was greater than the trouble of filling out this paperwork. Now, what paperwork am I speaking about? In the link below, I'm going to put two videos. One of them is going to be the 10 tips when traveling to the Philippines during the pandemic, and the travel restrictions video that speaks about you getting your COVID shield and what paperwork, identification, different things like that you need when traveling to the Philippines. The reason why I say that, those two videos, we try to show exactly the process that we had to do when we went to the Philippines. Most of the paperwork itself is really just writing down where you came from and where you are going, where you're going to stay, what's your emergency contact information. And that's the entire process. But not only that, if you don't have something filled out and you're ready to take your trip, the people that work at the airports were very helpful. Say, for example, you were supposed to have an app on your phone that you was to download and fill out the information. If you didn't have that app when you went through their checkpoint, they would actually assist you and show you how to download that app. They would show you different paperworks, or they would even give you different paperworks that you may need and assist you. So the airport personnel was very helpful when filling out this paperwork and help you move on to the next destination. Because trust me, they don't want you backlogged, and a lot of people backlog at that particular airport. They want you to move on to your final destination. Now, the thing about going to the Philippines during this, as the news media puts it, pandemic, all these horrible things that's going on in the world, for us, we didn't want that to stop us from traveling. When we reached the Philippines, we was actually there among the people of the Philippines. We wasn't staying in expensive hotels, staying at expensive Americanized resorts. We was living with the people of the Philippines. So I hope this story kind of not only motivates you, but help educate you by doing a little bit further research of how, yes, it may be stressful in the beginning. You may feel that way about the process to go to the Philippines or visit any other country for that matter. But once you start the paperwork process and you know and you understand what you're filling out, everything is going to start falling in line. And it's going to be a lot easier than what you thought, and be like, oh, gosh, everybody was saying that this was just so horrible, when it actually wasn't. Because at the end, when you reach your goal and you are in the Philippines, it's going to be well worth it. Now, let's talk about this fire. About 1 a.m., the night before we were supposed to leave to get on the plane, I just hear this loud banging at the door. Bang, 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 bang. Police, get out. The building's on fire. Police, get out. The building's on fire. So I hop up. I'm in bed, I'm snoring. I'm in a deep sleep. I hop up. I go to the door, and he's like, the building's on fire. Get out. Get out. So I go get my wife. I'm in shorts and t-shirt. And, at this time in December, it was cold here in Arkansas, especially at 1:30 at night. So I'm in shorts and t-shirt. I tell my wife, get her clothes. We got to go. But then I tell her, hey, grab our passports. I go and grab your purse. I go and I grab my wallet. I grabbed the cash we had that we was going to take to the Philippines. And we had packed 2 big suitcases, 2 carry-on suitcases, and we had 2 backpacks. We were ready to go. So as the police is taking his flashlight, banging on other doors to get everyone out of the apartment, I grabbed the 2 large suitcases. I told my wife to grab the 2 small suitcases. I have my backpack on. She has her backpack on, and we get out of the building. The fire itself is our apartments here. The guy that's directly live across from us, upstairs from him, that's where the fire was. And the police at that time, as we're coming out, they did a great job, because as we're coming out and there's people that's standing outside already down in the parking lot, the fireman is just pulling the hose out the fire truck and trying to go up the stairs. Wasn't no water flowing, anything like that. They just was taking the water hose, the fire hose, and going upstairs. So at that time, we take everything and we go through these crowd of people, and of course, we have our suitcase, because I was determined. I was like, no, we going to the Philippines. The apartment can burn, nothing I can do about it. But we have our clothes, we have our passport, we have the folder with all the information we need and all that paperwork, and we have the cash, and we have the bank information that we need. We were going to the Philippines. About 5 minutes later, the fireman had the hose on, and the guy that lives across from me, he wasn't home. So they just went into his apartment to check to see if the fire had reached down into that apartment. And as they spraying the top, all you can just see is water just coming down at the bottom of the walls of his apartment, because the fire was pretty big. Now, when we got back, and still today, that apartment is gutted out. And they have had so many people that's coming in doing the electricity, the foundation, different things of that nature. But that apartment burnt pretty bad. But the thing is there, and behind that story, what I would like for everyone to understand is that there's a lot of things that can get in your way when you are planning or you have a goal set. But as we had to fill out all this paperwork, we had to collect all this information just to be allowed and get approved to go to the Philippines. There was a huge apartment fire in our actual building that tried to stop us from going to the Philippines. And you know how the fire started? The couple that was there, come to find out, they were frying some food. The lady went to lay down to take a quick nap. And now this is like late at night, but went to take a quick nap. And the guy fell asleep also. And that's how the fire was started. And we knew it was them because there was a couple that was in the parking lot who basically just was wrapped in blankets. And that was them from that apartment. Now, the next day, the apartment manager, she came and looked at the apartment and everything. She looked at their apartment, and she already knew we were leaving. I was going to leave. I had the suitcases in the truck. We kept them there after the firemen came into our apartment, and they brought a machine to do a air quality test, and they told us we can come back in our apartment. We came back in an apartment. We went back to sleep. We woke up, suitcases and everything already in the truck. We were ready to go. There's a lot of things that can stop you from reaching your goals. A lot of things. But if you really have the desire to go to the Philippines, trust me, filling out that paperwork, having to wear a mask and a face shield is going to be all worth it. It's going to be worth it 100% once you reach the Philippines. I thank you for watching this video.